Ibonde Wano. My name is Ejike Eze. I'm the founder of Owandi Igbo Academy Incorporated, an organization at the forefront of advancing Igbo language and culture. It is my pleasure to be speaking with you today, and I'd like to thank the organizers of the Igbo conference for giving me the opportunity to speak on a topic I'm very passionate about, the advancement of Igbo language and culture. When I was contemplating the title of this presentation, I considered a few things. I considered such titles as Ndibo, a nation at war with itself, the demise of Igbo, a self-inflicted injury, and there were a few other cheeky titles and self-deprecating titles like that. But in the end, I abandoned them for this one, the rise of the Igbo language in the era of social media. The theme of this 10th anniversary of the Igbo conference could not be more apropos. There is no gainsaying that Igbo language lags behind other world languages of its caliber in terms of everyday usage and in terms of the technology and the studies around them. In fact, when compared to Yoruba and Hausa, the other two major languages of Nigeria, Igbo is decades behind. When you look at what happened in the 60s, the 70s, and 80s, one can say that there's been a renaissance or a rebirth of Igbo language. If you go into Google and you type in how to study Igbo or a variation of that phrase, you will get a ton of hits, ranging from classroom instructions to YouTube videos and so on and so forth. And this is a welcome development. It is a clear indication, one, that there is interest in the teaching of Igbo language, and two, that there is interest in the learning of Igbo language. And if you go into Twitter and you type in, or Facebook for that matter, and you type in learning Igbo, you will also get quite a few hits. Maybe not as much as you would on Google, but you will get hits. And this also is a welcome development. There are so many groups out there on WhatsApp, on Telegram, and so many other messaging platforms where discussions are devoted to the promotion of Igbo language and culture. One of the foremost of these is, of course, Owandi Igbo, the group that comprises university professors and Igbo enthusiasts from around the world. And everything is written in Igbo there. This, like I said, is really a welcome development. But we know that all this is not enough. If Igbo is to catch up and possibly surpass other languages of its caliber, which it should, given how brilliant Igbo people are, then more needs to be done. If an actual renaissance should happen, then more needs to be done to take advantage of the technology that we have at this time. But for more to be done, we must understand the real obstacles that are in the path of Igbo language. And it's only when we understand those obstacles that we can begin to remove them. So an important question that begs answers is, how is it that Igbo language, a language spoken by over 50 million of the smartest people on the face of the planet, people who are so brilliant in their individual endeavors, is lagging so far behind other languages? There is a plethora of studies that have attempted to answer this question. But in the interest of time, I will refer only to one study. There is a paper titled 100 Years of Literary Enterprise in Indigenous Nigerian Languages, Trends, Challenges, and Prospects, written by Professor Ikubuzo of the University of Lagos. What I found interesting in Professor Ikubuzo's paper is not just the factors that he listed as obstacles to Igbo language. It is the fact that virtually all of those factors, all of those impediments, are things that are created by the Igbo themselves. In other words, all of the impediments to the advancement of Igbo language are orchestrated by Igbo themselves. Igbo have since time undermined their own language and are entirely responsible for reducing the language to a crawl at a time when other languages are galloping at an accelerated speed to keep up with technology. So let's take a look at some of the things that we have done to shoot ourselves, as I say, to linguistically shoot ourselves in the foot. Controversies. Igbo language has been dogged by one controversy after another. One of the biggest of these controversies was the controversy of the Roman Catholic versus the CMS orthographies. As everybody knows, the earliest attempts to standardize and codify Igbo language was done by white missionaries. In fact, early writings in Igbo were primarily the translations of the Bible. In 1840, two missionaries on expedition to Nigeria came. One was a German missionary named J.F. Sean, Reverend J.F. Sean. The other was a Yoruba freed slave known as S.A. Crowder. Sean was fascinated with Igbo language, and he spent years studying it, working with freed slaves and Igbo interpreters. He learned many words, 1,600 words to be precise. This he considered an expanded vocabulary. In one of his trips, he stopped at Abombise, where the town people gathered to hear from this white man. Sean was so confident in his linguistics abilities that he dismissed the interpreter that was provided for him and insisted on speaking directly to the people in their own language. After all, he'd been studying this language for years. But he butchered the language so badly, turning tones and vowel harmony upside down and turning the syntax on its head. So much so that the Eze of Mbise interrupted him several times and eventually asked him what language he thought he was speaking. And Sean angrily responded that he was speaking Igbo, to which the Eze chuckled and then proceeded to say, "I don't know what language you're speaking, but that is not Igbo." Sean was terribly offended. It was reported that shortly after that, he was so infuriated that he quit the language and went on to start studying Hausa. Records will show that Sean wrote so many books and so many materials in Hausa language to the detriment of Igbo. He did go on in 1861 to publish a book that he called Oku Igbo, Grammatical Elements in the Igbo Language, which was based on previously collected materials, but his mind never returned to Igbo language. And this was our first major setback. Now, skip forward to 1929, when another controversy broke out between the Roman Catholic and the Church Missionary Society. A foreign minister known as Adam Watts had been invited by the government to offer guidance on national language policy. As part of that work, an orthography was born and developed and handed back over to the government. Both the government and the Roman Catholic Church adopted it without any hesitation. But the Church Missionary Society, the CMS, and the Methodist Church refused to accept it. As a matter of fact, they rejected it and went on to create another orthography. This plunged Igbo studies into terrible controversy. During that time, there was nothing being published because publishers did not really know what orthography they should use. But what is significant in this controversy is not really that there was one, but the role that the Igbo people who are followers of each faith played. It was the Igbo who engaged fiercely in this fight, not the white missionaries. In 1933, there was a competition organized by the International Institute of African Languages and Culture, which sought to publish a story in Nigeria's indigenous languages. Mr. Peter Wan has submitted a story that won the competition and was published under the title Omenoko. This was the first Igbo novel. But after that, no other novel or literary work of significance was published until 1963, when Leopold Belgam wrote the book Ijodumodu Jere, and then Achara followed shortly after with a book called Alabingo. So for 30 years, the Igbo fought an unnecessary battle which crippled Igbo scholarship. In 1961, under the leadership of F.C. Obalo, the Onwu Commission was established to look into the orthography controversy. They came out with a standard orthography, which is what we still use today. But you would think that this would put an end to the controversy. It did not. While many writers accepted the orthography, there were a few who insisted that everyone should just write in their own dialect. This was the position of even some of the most well-meaning Igbo people, including the father of African literature, the late Chinua Achebe. In fact, Achebe went ahead to write a book called Akaweta, entirely in Ogidi dialect. This extended the controversy. It would be many years before the dialect controversy was finally laid to rest. Akaweta did not do very well in Igbo literary circles, and Achebe eventually moved on. But that was not the end. Controversies around Igbo language it's like whack-a-mole. You knock one down and another one pops right up. And don't get me wrong, there is really nothing wrong in having spirited controversies around academia. I mean, it's what academics is all about. It's controversies. But I'm showing how this has crippled Igbo language in terms of the method that it followed. So the next controversy was what constitutes an Igbo novel? Is it a novel written in Igbo language or a novel written by an Igbo person? As ridiculous as this may sound, it occupied the thoughts of the scholars for many years. Such prominent scholars as Nnabwinyi Ugonna, Nolue Menenjo, Sam Uzochukwu, and many others argued passionately that Igbo novel is a novel written in Igbo language, period. In one of his many submissions on this topic, Professor Nolue Emenenjo wrote, "Imaginative literature conceived by Igbo language speaker and written in Igbo is the Igbo novel." But the other school of thought, championed by the likes of Professor Ernest Emenyono, insists that what mattered was the nationality of the writer. In other words, such writers as Things Fall Apart, such novels as Things Fall Apart, No Longer a Tease, Arrow of God, are all Igbo novels. According to Emenyono, modern Igbo creativity is something of an amalgamation in style, technique, and language. It includes form, the novel, which is European, a language, English, that is foreign, but remains essentially Igbo in idiom and content. It is influenced by various factors inside and outside the African continent, but its origin remains undeniably the Igbo culture. This was Emenyono in 1978. It took many years for this controversy to be laid to rest. And during that time, very little was published in Igbo language. But let's step away from the academic stuff for a second and speak in practical terms around the attitude of the Igbo towards their own language, perhaps the biggest hindrance of all to the advancement of the Igbo language. The apathy of the Igbo towards their own language is legendary. The Igbo are the only nation I know that are proud when their offsprings are not speaking their own language. Expressions such as "Nwam anaram anu Igbo," my son does not understand Igbo, are common. Many notable Igbo have come out and condemned this attitude. In fact, the current rise in the Igbo study materials on the internet directly correlates to the recent condemnation of the apathy towards Igbo language by well-meaning Igbo people. If you cannot tolerate your child not being able to speak English, why would you tolerate such a child not being able to speak your own language? And for those who are concerned that exposing their children to Igbo would impede their mastery of English, let me assure you that such is not the case. Studies in neurolinguistics and second language acquisition have shown that the mind of a child is capable of parsing several languages and indeed benefiting from such multilingualism. But aside from the apathy of the Igbo towards the language, there is also the apathy of the government towards the language. While state governments in the western part of Nigeria and the northern part of Nigeria were pursuing language policies that advanced Yoruba and Hausa respectively, the eastern governments, with the notable exception of the Anambra State, have done very little. This needs to change. So, if the Igbo have realized their mistakes and are now ready to learn the language, why are so many young people still not able to speak the language? And why has UNESCO included Igbo in the list of endangered languages, as many have been talking about? The fact is that Igbo is one of the few languages in which anyone who speaks it thinks that he or she can teach it. If you go to some of these schools where Igbo is reportedly taught, the only qualification such teachers would have is that they are native speakers of Igbo. But this is like an average American who speaks English thinking that because he or she speaks English, that they can actually teach it in universities or colleges. I've met someone who claims to teach Igbo in a higher institution in America, but who could not tell me the Igbo pronouns. There are so many Igbo language schools all over the United States and Europe, but most of the founders of these schools have not bothered to have their curricula reviewed by trained Igbo linguists, nor have they attempted to improve their own knowledge of the language so that they are better equipped to teach others. I've seen so many apps, websites, podcasts, and so on that purport to teach Igbo language, but when you examine the content, you realize that they are actually doing more harm than good. So where do we go from here? We know that writers of Igbo language are frustrated. Publishers are not publishing in Igbo language because there are no readers of Igbo. While books like from such great authors as Chimamanda Adichie and Okey Ndibe and a few others, are flying off the shelf. Not so with books written by Igbo scholars. And this needs to change. For people to start reading works written in Igbo, they need to know how to read Igbo. This is where social media comes in. I encourage everyone to write in Igbo. On Facebook, on Twitter, on WhatsApp, whatever social media platform you use, write in Igbo. In this age of artificial intelligence, the more we write in Igbo, the more the artificial intelligence algorithms learn the language. and improve machine translations, and so on. If you looked at Google Translate, you will find that it is more accurate for Yoruba and Hausa and some other African language than it is for Igbo. The reason is that there's a lot more written in these languages than is written in Igbo. I encourage everyone to join such groups as Owandi Igbo, where everything is written in Igbo. Learn from the many professors and teachers of Igbo who are sharing their knowledge for free. Ask questions, do some research, but whatever you do, encourage Igbo studies, encourage Igbo writing, purchase Igbo books, and support these writers. Seek help when you need to. If you write in English, whether you write for Nollywood or you publish novels and so on, seek out Igbo language teachers and scholars and linguists and have them cross-check the expressions that you use from Igbo language. This is particularly important for Nollywood because a lot of people listen and read what is written in Nollywood, and most times they're so poorly written. I've read a brilliant novel written by an Igbo person in which every single Igbo expression that's written in it was incorrectly written. But there are so many people who can help with these things. And so for us to have a true Igbo rebirth, we have to go back to the basics. We have to promote our language. We have to support the Igbo writers. And that is my position. So I would like to thank you all for listening to me. And I thank the organizers again for putting this together. Igbo Gadi Bambologu. Ndewonu.